All right, everyone, it's 6:30, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Can we get a roll call, please?
Sure. All right, Director Weslowski.
Present.
Director Salo. Director Salo, are you on mute?
Yes, she is.
Present.
All right, and Director Eldridge.
Here. All right, so we have quorum. Is there any public comment for items that are not on the agenda? Any public comments for items not on the agenda?
We have a visitor.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah, you are now.
Okay, well, we just got this. Sorry, Steve, it's not an Apple, but I got a Galaxy tablet, and I'm not sure how I do anything where I raise my hand or something. Anyway, if I just start making weird noises, you have to. Anyway, it's good to. I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind. Okay, it's good to see you all. Hope you guys are doing well. You know, we'll just keep one foot in front of the head of the other. Okay, that's all.
All right. Thank you, Jenny. Misha or anybody else want to have any public comments?
Oh, I just figured out how to use.
I can introduce myself if that would help, or if you...
That would be great.
Okay. Well, hi everyone. My name is Misha. It's lovely to virtually meet you all. I'm currently a junior at the American University, but I'm originally from Cupertino, California, and I'm studying political science and psychology. I originally, when I was in high school, I was the chair of the Cupertino Teen Commission, so that's where I got my interest and involvement in politics and local governance. So my friend who works at the Rancho pool recommended this position for me. So I'm really glad I filed for it. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me. It's lovely to meet you all.
Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing great things from you on the board when you're sworn in December. As folks may know, all 4 seats were filled. There is not any challenges beyond the 4 candidates, so all 4 candidates will be installed in December. So thank you so much, Misha, for taking this on. Really appreciate it. All right, so Kevin, are we supposed to be going into closed session now?
Yes, we are going into closed session now.
All right,
So
do you have an idea of when we'll be back so the others can, or is this gonna stay on and we just go into a separate?
we can go into a breakout session.
Okay.
So I anticipate it'll probably be, I don't know, maybe 10-15 minutes.
All right, so yeah, just to let everybody know, we're gonna be going into closed session. And so we'll be back once we're finished. We're going to be talking about personnel evaluation, and we will report out if there's any action taken afterwards.
All right, so I will be moving people over manually. Go ahead and ping me if this doesn't work, as I hope it does.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is it moving you over?
Not yet. Oh, there we go.
I got an invitation, yes.
Are we all back in the same room?
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for sticking around. We're opening back up public session. Just to report out from our closed session, we had a personnel evaluation of our general manager, and no additional action was taken. All right. Now we're going to go to the consent calendar. Is there any directors that would like to pull to discuss, or even members of the public? Seeing and hearing none.
Can I move to accept the consent calendar?
All right, do we have a second? All right, Miriam seconds it. And this is no discussion. So although, can you do a roll call, please?
Yes, Director Salo,
Yes.
Director Waslowski,
Yes.
okay, Director Eldridge,
Yes. Thank you. We have unanimous. So now presentations and reports. Receive the October General Manager's report. So take it away,
Yes.
Kevin.
Let's go down to this here. So this has been an interesting month. I had thought last month that the air quality was unprecedented, and that the closures would be the last of it, and I was wrong. We had 2 more closures due to air quality, bringing our total up to 23 days for lap swim, and that's been detrimental to a lot of our recreational swimmers who rely on us for their recreation needs. And so that was a little disappointing, but you know, it had to happen. We do have a strategic planning timeline coming out, and it looks like we'll start working, staff will start working sometime in December and January, giving reports and background information to the consultant. And we'll begin the workshops in February and March. Those will be workshops with the consultant and both the board, and the consultant and the public, and then of course the consultant and certain key staff members in there. And the idea is to get a working draft before the board in May. Other than that, we have an implementation of an HR system. This could take a while. This is a system that is meant to take us from our onboarding process and have it really clear where people are in the process, keeping track of all of that, those items. A lot of it will be digitally available, digital signatures, things like that. And we're working through and making a process where we can hand off some of the training onto the new Safe Schools platform, which we implemented earlier this year. That would make it so that as soon as our employees are hired, they'll go on and fulfill their sexual harassment prevention training, as well as other trainings, which we can even upload videos. So eventually the idea is to have some cost savings by having some of our trainings that we can't do, that we can do remotely, done through Safe Schools. So that's pretty exciting. There's a couple hiccups, but we're working through it. And of course, the board member orientation, we're still working through making the presentations. There is a lot to cover. There's a lot of history in the district, and of course, a lot of operational quirks, which we have to carefully put those into a presentation so the new board can be aware of them. That's about it.
All right, any questions from the board or the public? Either raise your hand or unmute, because sometimes being recognized is difficult on Zoom. But without hearing any further discussion, we'll go on. Thank you, Kevin. So now we're going to discussion and action items. Number 5, first reading of resolution repealing and adopting district policies. Kevin?
All right. So as you are aware, we've been working very hard on adopting a comprehensive set of policies in 2020, and the board has passed many of them. So what this resolution is basically setting a date for one of them to be removed and then the other one to take its place. And of course, they're all listed right here. So these are the ones that are coming out. These are the ones that are going in. And of course, they would be effective 30 days after adoption of this resolution.
So yes, I really appreciate you doing this. As you can see that our board has been working very hard to streamline our policies and get rid of policies that were in conflict with another. So I'm really glad that we've been doing this work since I was appointed to this board. And yeah, thank you so much, Kevin, for your work doing this with me and the other board members to make sure that that we have something streamlined. Any questions from the board or public? I don't see any hands raised. So this is the first reading of this resolution. So at our November meeting, we will be adopting it to take effect in December. All right. All right. Seeing no further discussion, I'm going on to item number 6, the first reading of the employee handbook. Kevin?
Thank you, Chair. So the new policy 2000 passed on August 20th delegates quite a bit of authority to the general manager. One part of that is that I would be responsible for developing, proposing, and maintaining personnel policy, and that it has to be all of it has to be considered by the board. Now, this handbook has been in effect for quite a while, but the board hasn't seen it yet. So we're making sure to have everything be transparent and open. So this is the general policy handbook that new employees are given and is available to employees every year in the Facebook group. And so this one, again, the board can take a look.
All right. Did members of the board or the public have any questions regarding this item? So just a little bit of history. A lot of these, what's written in this handbook were not put into as board policy, but we have memorialized a lot of it into board policy. So, this will supplement Kevin's work on administrative procedures that he's working on currently. And yeah, it will be a work in progress. Obviously, the new board will be installed in December, and we'll have an opportunity to work on board policy as well. All right. Seeing no further discussion. Number 7, consider general manager contract extension and inflation adjustment. Kevin?
Sorry, one moment there. Getting to it. I'm sorry, did we go into the next topic?
Yeah, we're on item number 7, consider general manager contract extension and inflation adjustment.
Yes, so the contract for services between myself and the district expires this October. So just for the continuing leadership, it would be a good idea to renew the contract in some form for 2 years to support the new board members and provide some continuity going into the future, especially with 4 out of 5 board members being new.
All right. Anybody have any questions regarding this contract? Questions, not discussion, but if there's any member of the public that wants to speak on this item, please raise your hand or unmute yourself. So I do want to make a comment. As my time on the board is limited, I really think that the best approach to this contract, Kevin, is a 1-year extension only. The reason why is because I definitely think that you have done a fantastic job over the last few years. Well, the entire time you've been on as our district manager, but really we've gone through some challenging times the past couple of years. We are in a really exciting time for this district, but also we have 4 new board members that are going to be sworn in December, and I really think that the new board should focus on the direction that they want to see this district go. So, you know, when I got on this board, besides helping do policy and my pet project, the strategic plan, I don't feel necessarily comfortable doing any long-term agreements. Now, in general, these contracts should be about 3 years, and every single year after the personnel evaluation, the board can decide whether to extend it for an additional year. A lot of cities, school boards do that, and so that would be the typical approach that I would have, but I really want to have the new board make those decisions while having some leadership stability during the strategic plan and next year's summer programming. So I would ask that October 8th, 2021 would be this contract end date. And for the inflation adjustment, I think that we should skip that for now, only because we're really in a economic crisis right now, and a lot of people are struggling. And I think that it just would be best for the new board to make those decisions. Miriam?
I respectfully disagree that I actually think, excuse me, the 2-year contract would be better. I think the board will be new and it will take them a little time to come up to speed and see how things are going, that maybe this isn't what they need to spend their time with during that year to figure out whether Kevin is doing his job or not, and that it would add some continuity. And after those, you know, they'd have their first year, they'd be up to speed, and then they'd be knowing on year 2 what's going on and be either comfortable with Kevin at that point or make some sort of change. I think a year goes by really quickly, and not only do we have new changes with the new board and stuff, but we're in the middle of a pandemic, and Kevin's kind of guided us through this, well, last couple of years of turmoil. And I think it would be beneficial to just not add that confusion to the new board, that, you know, they'll either figure it out or, yeah, I think a year goes by pretty quick, and they're by that time they'll be ready to have a better idea about working with Kevin. So I think 2 years is actually a better idea. I think maybe not having a wage increase is a possibility, as you said, that we were not sure where things are going and how the economy is ending up. But I think it's a good idea to give Kevin our vote of confidence that we've expressed so far in this recent past. So I especially think this is a time period not to be adding that to the mix or jumping ship.
Well, I respect your position. I do want to make it clear that that doesn't mean Kevin is going to be somehow let go, you know, if the new board doesn't agree on a contract. And they could make other decisions as well. I mean, all of that is in the contract. I just don't feel like it should be my responsibility as somebody who's here temporarily to be making these decisions long term. I would rather have the board do that. Steve, if you have any comments, if not, we have a public comment.
Sign language.
Do you have anything, Steve?
Yes, I do. I said public person first.
Oh, Jenny?
I'll be right.
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, all right. Hey, I'm getting the hang of this tablet. Yes, hi. I have been very impressed with how Kevin has handled all of his job duties. This last year, I always have been impressed with him as the general manager, especially how he pulled things together when COVID hit. I mean, I have seen a lot of planning commissioners, city councils in other cities. I actually was in a Zoom meeting in San Jose this week, 2 of them. And Kevin performed under pressure better than anyone could have even predicted. I think that we need to keep it as a 2-year. If that whatever is normal. I thought Kevin was permanent because he does such an excellent job. But I understand. But I do think that especially with the new board coming in, that it's better to keep things as consistent as possible until people get up and running. And I'm very, very happy with Kevin's performance. Believe me, anybody that had to go to work every day and handle issues during COVID and doing as well as he did is a real gem and needs to be retained. And nobody thought COVID would hit, but boy, you put that on your regular job commitments, and we've seen a lot of superheroes going on. So Kevin, you're right up there with superhero land, and I really think we need to have a 2-year contract for him. And hey, if you guys can afford to throw in the whatever the cost of living, believe me, that things are we don't know what's happening, and at this point everybody needs all the income they can get. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Any other public comments? All right,
Do you
Steve.
still have new board members?
Yeah. Steve?
I tend to agree with Hilly that for different reasons, the pandemic footing is going to continue, in my opinion, for over another year. So a 2-year contract would be a better idea. I also agree with you that some kind of cost of living would be, but I'm willing to forego that. We haven't seen any increase in several years. The expenses have gone up, but I would be more interested in making it 2 years. The new board I'll be sitting with next year, who still has ways in a contract to terminate it if they decide as a majority they want new leadership. Although I think that's an insane idea, because he has done, he's the linchpin that has pulled us through all the things that the last few years have thrown our way. So I tend to favor 2 years, but if the only way we can get 3 votes is to go for 1 year, I'll have to accept that. But 2 years, I think, gets us past maybe the pandemic and open to the public again, which I don't see until late next year happening. By which time, as Hilly has said, it takes a while to learn to be a board member well. And the more time they have and the more training they have, the better. But I don't know the 4 people who are going to join me on the board yet. So all I know is I understand they're all good people. And so, but it'll take them time to hit the ground running. I know that.
And I just want to add that it's not, it's, you know, if it's just a 1-year contract, it's really, it's job security for Kevin, but there's really no, there's nothing to prevent the new board of taking action for whatever reason. You know, so, you know, I really think that, I think the new board will be very capable, learning the ropes quickly. And, you know, I feel like when I was on the board previously that I learned pretty quickly myself. So, and it's not that, you know, October 9th, 2021, Kevin's gonna not have a job. You know, he is permanent. This gives him the security, and I get that. I think he has done a great job as well, but it's not my intention as the appointed person to this seat to tie the hands, besides the strategic plan, to tie the hands of the new board. I definitely think that they're going to be capable in figuring that out. Hilly?
Well, I think you heard the voice of the public, you heard the voice of the board of the past, you heard the voice of the board of the present. And all of them wanted to support Kevin in continuity in this thing. And you've got your strategic thing. I think you can bow to the voices of the public and present and past boards, that next year won't hurt the board either.
We have Mina, who's raising her hand.
Yeah. Hi, I'm a Rancho Rinconada resident, and I'm also a Cupertino Park and Recreation Commissioner. But today my speech only represent myself. I agree with you that you're talking about uncertainty in next year or next couple of years. I want to share some public information. In last Thursday, in the Park Commission meeting of Cupertino City, the commissioners vote yes to recommend Cupertino City merge with Rancho Rinconada Special District. So I think other than the strategic plan, it adds one more factor of uncertainty. I just come here to share this information. Yeah, I agree with you. Maybe, yeah, because so many uncertain factors, maybe 1 year is a better choice, but it's only represent my personal will. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll discuss that as item number 9, the actions of the the Parks and Recreation Commission. But yeah. Any other discussion, a motion? Does anyone have a motion? I don't hear anyone.
Steve's got his hand up.
All right, Steve.
Unmute.
A motion to approve the contract until October 8th, 2021.
Sorry, we missed that.
Extending the
Okay, I hear you say extending the contract for 1 year.
1 year.
So you're making a motion to extend the contract for 1 year. Okay, I will second that.
All right, did you guys want to put in the motion regarding section 3A
Oh, as far as,
pay?
I would like to. What's been it's selling, we've had some kind of inflation, but I don't know what the numbers are.
okay, I
Do you
would,
know, Kevin, what the inflation numbers are right now?
Yeah, if you use national, it's 3%. If you use San Francisco Bay Area, it's 3.6. Either way, it's not the most important to me.
So what would that increase be?
Give me a second, I'll calculate it. Looks like at 3%, it's just over 3,000, 3142. At 3.6, it's 3,707.
I can't find it on the agenda. Okay, I agree to whatever 3A or whatever is supposed to be. If we're only doing a year, and I give them the increase then.
Let's say 3,000, round it off.
Okay, fine.
1,000?
3,000.
Okay. Do you accept that amendment to the motion, Miriam?
Yes.
All right. Any further discussion?
Can't find all that. Is his contract in here?
All right.
Um,
Can't hear you, Steve.
I do agree with what you said earlier. By the time this comes around in another year, the other 4 members of the board will be up to speed enough.
Mhm.
So 1 year is good enough for me based on that.
All right. So I'm just going to repeat the motion for those who are having a hard time hearing Steve. So the motion is to extend the contract till October 8th, 2021, with a inflation bump of $2,000 payable in
I thought we said 3.
3. I thought you said 2.
No, he said 3.
Okay, so 3,000 payable in installments according with the usual payroll schedule. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
What is it, effective immediately, not backdated or anything?
I didn't hear that, Steve.
Effective immediately, not backdated.
Okay.
Whatever that means. Okay.
Okay, Director Eldridge,
Aye.
Director Salo,
I
Director Wasowski.
All right, that passed unanimously. Now we're moving on to item number 8, first reading of the resolution in support of International Seed Day. Director Salo.
Hi. I have been sponsoring a seed day at Rancho in support of the sharing of biodiversity within our agricultural system, which includes gardens. Actually, home or residential landscape is the largest single use of urban landscape. And if you look at the biodiversity within a large agricultural system, you used to see rows and rows of the same thing. So there's not any biodiversity that we're going to need going forward in our world and expect it to come from commercial ventures. It's basically going to be home gardeners that save our agricultural biodiversity. And that's going to be done by saving seed and sharing it. And so I encourage the board to adopt this resolution in support of gardeners sharing seed, and that the Rancho will support the community in sharing those seeds and adding security to our food system for the people in our neighborhoods. So I encourage us to pass this, to let our community know that we support that.
Right.
Any questions?
Any questions? Or members of the public? Anybody from public have some comments on this resolution? Jenny.
Yes, thank you, Jordan. I think this is a really good plan. There's a lot of, let's face it, I think they actually in Norway somewhere deep in the ground, they actually have all of the current stock of all the seeds and food. Maybe Miriam knows this, but I think that having there's always a lot of seeds available. People can be raising gardens now, especially during the pandemic. They have lots of time at home. And I think this is a wonderful idea. It's going to increase and make more food available, especially on a local level. And believe me, Rancho Rinconada has some of the best soil in the valley. My grandfather had a farm in the area, and believe me, we should probably be growing fruits and vegetables, not pavement. Thank you.
I want to make one more comment about, like, when you bring up the seed banks, that those seed banks, they hold seeds in stable conditions. They never interact with outside environmental conditions. So they never have a chance to adapt. And that's important to have these seeds held in reserve for extreme emergency conditions, like a loss of seeds. But on an ongoing basis, it's really the community gardeners that will continue that preservation, because as those seeds grow and are regrown every year, they adapt to those types of conditions. This is what's important as far as bringing our food security in league with the changing climate, so that we as ordinary people can preserve these just by growing and sharing them. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Salo. Any other public comments? Steve, do you have a comment? You're muted.
I understand. I think it's a good idea.
All right, I just want to make a comment. I appreciate you drafting this resolution for us, Miriam. I do think that it is directly related to recreation. Gardening is recreation. And so I really like your idea. Again, maybe not, collect and exchange seeds that we have no idea where they came from, like me. Because I was part of that Department of Agriculture seized some seeds that I got in the mail with the whole thing. But No, I really think this is great. It's recreation, and I look forward to seeing Rancho do more in this area.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. Any other discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Oh, this one's just a first reading because it's a resolution.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. First reading.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll have a roll call next month.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So next on our agenda is number 9, discussion regarding Cupertino Parks and Recreation Commission recommendation to merge Rancho with the city. Kevin?
Right, so the Parks and Rec Commission did meet last week to take a look at the whether to recommend merging Rancho into the City Parks and Recreation Department. Originally, the staff had recommended waiting until the strategic plan was going to be wrapped up, so that way feedback could be collected from Rancho residents, and you know, that would be better than the survey that I think everyone kind of admitted was not really as good as we were hoping. The commission did consider this, but they also spent almost 2 hours discussing. So it was a very in-depth discussion, and eventually came to the conclusion that they would like to make a recommendation to City Council that Rancho be merged into the city. I don't think the report is going to be given to the City Council until the new council members are seated. That kind of sounds like towards the end of the year, maybe early next year, and it's not really clear what the path is going to be going forward after that. My understanding is that these things take quite a while, so even if that recommendation is made and the City Council decides to go ahead and go for it, there will still be a lot of steps after that.
Are you done?
So
Yes.
questions from the board
Yeah.
before public comment?
So in that discussion, and they, what was it that made them leave that idea about skipping the strategic strategy and just going forward with this? I mean, was there anything different than, you know, like with LAFCO? I mean, are there other factors that we aren't aware of that brought them to this conclusion, or?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the commissioners, Commissioner Stanek, I believe that she had, well, she brought up the LAFCO issue of the zero sphere of influence, but I think one of the other drivers was that the city general plan, the city general plan identified the need for year-round aquatics in Cupertino. And so I think, among many other discussions, you know, one of the things that was mentioned was that that the city general plan calls for it, and that this is a pool that offers year-round recreation, and that is likely good enough. I believe Commissioner Shu is here and might be able to elaborate more on her thoughts.
So
Real quick question, Kevin.
can I just extend on my, so you're, I hope you didn't run that. So at least if the Recreation Commission sounds like they have intentions to at least continue Rancho and continue it on a year-round basis. Is that what I'm hearing?
Kind of not. So I guess what their intention is, so sorry, I should back up a little bit. The City Council had asked the City Parks and Recreation Commission to make a recommendation based on the LAFCO report, which had said that there's different options for merging. The commission was also a little bit worried because the council had wanted that report back in May or June, and it's now September, October, and so they wanted to make that report a little bit earlier. But the idea would be for this recommendation would be Rancho dissolves and then gets merged into the City Parks and Recreation Department. So instead of having a board, they would be just another park in Cupertino. That's the recommendation, which I'm assuming will be kind of fleshed out over the next month or two.
So I have a question. It's kind of a statement and a question. You said that one of their reasons for recommending a merge is that Cupertino needs new recreation. This is not new recreation. This is existing recreation. So that argument didn't really make sense to me. Also, and you might want to elaborate more, Kevin, but I watched this commission meeting and they have no information about, they don't back up their recommendation with any facts, in my opinion. First of all, it's Rancho Rinconada residents who have invested millions of dollars into this district. It's not all of Cupertino, it's Rancho Rinconada is invested in this facility. Second, maybe I'm confused, but this district is not just in Cupertino, it's in San Jose as well. And so, I don't know how that's gonna bode, because Cupertino cannot take it over when we are not wholly within the city of Cupertino. And then also, when I watched it, they had no information about whether the current tax base for Rancho would even be given to the city of Cupertino, because right now we have a really robust revenue stream for this district. And if it goes to the city of Cupertino, it's under my impression that they're going to lose out on the taxes for it. And it's going to have to come out of the Cupertino General Fund, which I doubt that they are going to be excited about doing. So you want to elaborate on that? Maybe I have it mistaken.
I think that I don't want to go into what the commission did or didn't consider, but I think that the LAFCO consultant did say that the tax base would transfer over to the city, which does change things significantly.
That's
or
not
at
what
least
I
that's what
read.
he was saying.
It's not what I read when I read the report. It looked like
Steve has his hand up.
I see that, Hilly, but as I was giving you the right to elaborate, I'm elaborating. But Kevin, I must be reading wrong, because the LAFCO report said they did not know. They did not know. And also I heard from several Cupertino staff members who say that they didn't want a hostile takeover, which, some people may think that this is a very easy thing, but it's, if the new board doesn't agree with it, it's going to wind up in the courts. And it can drawn out for years. So, I'm not sure that they're recommending. I didn't see them, recommending any coherent thing. Steve? You're muted, or you can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Over 10 years I've been involved with LAFCO. It turns out LAFCO has to hold hearings to decide on the finances. So we don't know. You're partially right, Jordan, and actually you're right partially. So until a dissolution happens and it's overseen by LAFCO, because that's their job, they would decide about the finances. So none of that is known. That's part of the process. That if this left,
We're having a hard time hearing you, Steve. At least I am.
if the city goes ahead and asks LAFCO to do this, the process will take well over a year. And during that time, there'll be many hearings. I've always said, if the city can do a better job for the same amount of money, then, and the people paying the taxes vote majority for this, I support it. Otherwise, I don't think the city can do a better job than we're doing. That's my opinion.
Before we move on to more discussion, I'd like to get input from the public. Jenny has her hand up.
Hello, Jordan. Thank you for introducing this item. I was actually at the Zoom meeting. It's weird to say this, but the Zoom meeting that the Park and Rec Commission had last Thursday, I believe. And I will tell you, I mean, they had a sensitive conversation about it, but I get the drift that some people don't understand what a special district is. And I am concerned that, okay, I'm happy with I mean, I've lived here for 25 years. My great aunt was an original owner in 1950 on. I came here as a child. My husband learned to swim in the Rancho pool. I'm worrying that that the Park and Rec Commission is rushing the merger. They need to talk to the residents of Rancho Rinconada. The survey was not adequate. I'm worried that the Park and Rec Department is trying to use the Rancho Rinconada pool as a substitute for the shortcomings of Blackberry Farm Pool. Blackberry Farm Pool is not open 365 days a year. It should be open longer, and they should have a pool cover on that pool. I don't think Blackberry Farm Pool is very well run. Rancho Recreation Pool is much smaller and should not be used as a poor substitute for the Blackberry Farm Pool. The $1 million assets in the Rancho Recreation Pool and District should not be dumped into the Cupertino General Fund. The assets have to stay in Rancho Rinconada Special District, or the district and the residents of Rancho need to be compensated by the city for those $1 million if the special district is taken over by the city. And that means that we get something for the $1 million. He's up $2 million, and they take the $1 million and they buy us parkland, or else they strip the Rancho special district down to just turf, and that is the park for Rancho Rinconada. Thank you.
All right, any other members of the public? All right, so I'm going to bring it back to the board for more discussion. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it was rushed recommendation, and I definitely think that you know, I don't think it's going to really make any bit of a difference between you know, well, there is going to be a huge difference, right? Because they're going to run the district how they feel like running it. But, you know, I think Jenny is correct in a way that, you know, Rancho Rinconada residents who, I mean, we've only been part of the city of Cupertino for 21 years. And this district has been running as a special district since the 50s, when Rancho was built in the first place. You know, it's interesting that you know, I get LAFCO has the ability to create sphere of influence, but I think that a lot of people don't really understand what that means. There are special districts wholly within the city of San Jose, for example, that run as special districts. There's also the library district that is run by is a special district, but it's run by the Board of Supervisors. So, but according to the city council, when they did give it to the Parks and Recreation Commission to, to study this issue, also said they didn't want to go that route. So there definitely has to be some sort of, I don't know. I really just don't feel like the commission really can fully argue this recommendation to the city council based on not really having that much information. So I don't know if anybody else has comment or Kevin. I agree with you though, Steve, that if the city can provide equal or more services for this and it makes sense, then fine by me. But the Rancho Rinconada residents have been investing in this district, not the west side of Cupertino. It's been Rancho Rinconada. And just because other areas, other residents from San Jose or whatnot, use it a lot more in terms of percentage. 10% of Rancho Rinconada's residents is actually quite a lot of people. Steve?
Yeah, my opinion is what I said, if they can do a better job for the same or less money. However, we've seen during the pandemic, we've been able to run our pool and open it up for use, and they have not. The main reason being our independent board making decisions to retain our lifeguards. The city doesn't have any lifeguards because they didn't retain them. And it was a gamble that we took that was reasonable, and it's paid off. Whereas the city hasn't shown that it can run year-round aquatic programs. Since I moved to the city in 1964, and I moved to Rancho when I bought my house in 1976. In all that time, the city has never had year-round aquatics. We have for at least the last 5-10 years. Kevin has a better time frame on it than I would. So we're obviously doing a better job of utilizing the facility right now than they have a much bigger facility. There are many reasons for that, and because my sound cuts out, I don't want to go into them. They're beyond this meeting. But the other thing to remember is whatever happens, it's going to take at least a year to get through all the government agencies that have to do their part, principally LAFCO. But LAFCO will not do it until they receive clear orders from us or the city that we want to be dissolved.
Miriam?
I'd also be concerned that if our funds go into the general fund, as Steve was saying, I can't imagine that they would put forward funds to sustain this based on the demonstrations that you're already speaking about. So that's a concern once there. If they take over and the funds become general funds, it's hard to imagine that they would necessarily spend those forward to Rancho.
Right. And if they do have the ability to continue funding from Rancho Rinconada residents, it's not going to make any sense. It's going to be Rancho Rinconada residents continuing to foot the bill for a citywide program facility. It shouldn't be just Rancho Rinconada residents sustaining that district. It should be spread out to every single part of this city. If they're thinking about keeping the revenue source, then it shouldn't be Rancho Rinconada residents footing 100% of the bill like it is now. Steve?
You also made an excellent point, Jordan, in that if they want to acquire a Rancho to increase aquatic offerings, nothing will increase because we're already using the pool to the fullest capacity we can almost. So marginal increases is all they're going to see. And that's a good point you made. You know, it won't increase things significantly over what's already being offered. You know, we're limited right now under COVID-19 to do 50% of what we normally do, right, Kevin? You know, in terms of what we can do. 80% of our business we can't do, and they can't either. But they could have lap swim if they could only staff their pools. Whether they're useful for lap swim or not, they don't look that way to me. But you know, lap swimmers are hardy people; they'll adapt.
I might be mistaken, but isn't the city consistently running their pool facilities at a deficit while we're always in profit? So even with the shutdown of this pandemic, we're still running as a profit. So well, we're not going in too much debt, is what I'm saying.
We're breaking even almost. $10 a day is what we figure we're losing on average.
Yeah, so I mean that's not too much, right? $10 a day but you know, I agree with the I honestly don't think Cupertino is going to end up interested in taking over, but also keeping in mind that the only change that will happen, because Rancho will still need management, will still need the same amount of employees, is just, you know, our district manager will have a supervisor
New title.
Right. And a supervisor out of the Parks and Rec Commission or department of the city. So it's not going to change anything other than, you know, in 2018, 2019, we had a couple board members who had personality conflicts with Kevin and other members of the board. And, you know, with all these claims of impropriety that have never come to light. They've never been proven because it's not happening. So we had some personality conflicts, and that is why this is being considered by the city in the first place. So it's not going to change anything other than who is making the decisions. And quite frankly, moving this facility to the city while the Rancho Rinconada community is still footing 100% of the bill is not fair. And it doesn't make sense for the city either, because, you know, where are they going to increase taxes, you know, the whole city? They can't. So, Miriam?
I also think that we should should be taken into account is that we have 4 new board members. So it's showing a significant interest by the community in this facility. And that should be given priority, I think, in terms of that. It's like you said, it's part of our community. We've put forward the money for it, and now the community is shown that it's interested, and I think it's a good time for Rancho to be independent.
Right. I know that, Kevin, this is just a discussion, so no action can be taken, but it would be nice to, I hope you've been taking notes. I know you're recording it. But maybe put together a comprehensive response to include with the recommendation to the city, explaining all these complicated issues, you know, because I really don't feel like the commission had all the necessary information. They also have new staff. There's a new director. You know, I think that a lot of decisions were being discussed and made based on 2 or 3 or 4 loud residents who don't really understand that don't really understand what goes on in this district. Which
Were
they
those loud residents at the meeting? The commissioner meeting? No, okay.
No, they weren't.
No, they were not.
But
They
they're-
submitted something ahead of time.
I see.
Steve can't hear you.
They submitted written inputs. I didn't watch the meeting because when I read the agenda on Monday that week, I couldn't find it on the agenda. I was really surprised that they actually discussed it. So I'm glad that Kevin was there to see what was going on, and that Jennifer was there, and obviously Minazu was there too. But you're right. The last thing I really want to say on this is I agree with you. The problem is they're trying to make decisions as a commission with very little facts, a lot of reality facts that they believe, and the people who put them out, but they're wrong. As you said, Jordan, you know, they don't understand, and so we'll see what happens. But
I do want to say, if you mind, Steve, the commission, I believe, are very well-meaning. I really do believe that the commission is trying to do their best job providing a recommendation based on the information provided to them. I don't think it helps very much that we have a new director in the Parks and Recreation Department that could effectively explain a lot of these issues, you know. And I think it's really been pretty clear that us three, this board currently, has not ruled out the possibility of the district being dissolved into the city. You know, what we're concerned about is what's going to happen if that happens. And I think it's a lot more complicated than you know, the personality conflicts that we have seen in the past couple of years.
the issues of merger, dissolution, all those are very complicated issues. But like I said, the bottom line is, I support whatever pathway to the future, the best use of the facilities for all the public we serve. And a majority of people who are paying the bills in a fair election say, I want to have it merged, just like we had Rancho Rinconada neighborhood merged into the city of Cupertino itself, then I go along with that. That's democracy. But I want to vote, you know, and I realize majority vote doesn't always mean you get an intelligent decision, and we don't need to go there. We all know what example I'm thinking of. But if they want to proceed with dissolution, I think it would be fair to do a vote of the people whose money has been funding us. To correct one misconception, actually only half of our funding comes from taxes. The other half has traditionally come from user fees. So, and whether we're merged or not, our taxes will not change. It's just where they go to would be where those particular would be determined by LAFCO as part of the procedure of changing the district. And when you talked about other special districts like the library and stuff like that, there are only 19 independent special districts in this county. And all the other special districts you see are dependent special districts.
Only 19.
Meaning,
I would agree only.
and
I think special districts are, yeah. Sorry, Steve.
they're formed by city councils and the board of supervisors, but there are 19 independent ones. We're one. Water district, another. It's the biggest one maybe in the state. And a third example would be a couple fire districts, you know, but not all of them. So it's complicated. And
Saratoga has a fire district that is not in the purview of the city or the county. It's a special district with a independently elected board.
yes, you know
Um,
that anyway. So I just wanted to say that not all special districts are independent, funded, and run by boards.
and before I do see that Mina's Commissioner Xu is raising her hand, and I will give her that the time to be able to speak on this because she is a commissioner. But I do want to say that there are often times that I'm in very much opposition of what our city does every day. But I'm not advocating for the county to take over our city because I don't agree with some of the direction. So, you know, I mean, that's really what was going on here. If you've seen boards and commissions within the city or outside the city, sometimes there are very contentious and difficult people to work with. So I just wanted to mention that. But Mina, if you want to give 2 minutes on this issue, we're welcome with that.
Thank you. I come here as a Rancho Rinconada resident. I only represent myself. So I don't want to talk more about the commission meeting because it's a public meeting and Cupertino City have all the video online for this public meeting. And I just want to say, yeah, I heard several board members said, yeah, they believe most Rancho people, they like the current status and the management of the swimming pool is pretty good. I think if you think most residents like this, maybe you can start a ballot vote to collect the vote to show the city what's the taxpayer, what's their decision. Because in commission meeting and in Rancho board meeting, I heard so many different opinions. So I just speak for myself as a resident here. Maybe we hope to get a chance to have a say about this issue. If we can vote for a ballot matter, maybe yeah, we'll glad to cast a vote on that. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. And I definitely want to add to your comments. I agree with them. And I think that this is one reason why the staff in the Parks and Recreation Department wanted to delay is because the strategic plan is going to help determine, you know, what the community wants as well, and the direction that they want. You know, part of the strategic plan, it's not just the board, it's not just staff, but a large part of it is getting feedback from our residents, whether it's a vote by the people or not. You know, we have decided on a spectacular consulting firm that is going to help us put together the strategic plan and get all the viewpoints on all sides on what folks want to see with this district. And this is what I've been advocating for a strategic plan for a long time, long time. And I'm glad that we're doing it. But yeah, the strategic plan process is going to include real heavy outreach and get feedback from the community, and I think that's really important. So thank you. All right. If nobody has any more discussion, we can maybe I would like to see Mina, did you have something else to say?
I'm just wondering, so for Rancho board meeting, is there, so after the meeting, I saw it's recorded. Could residents see the meeting after that? Is it posted online, the video?
That's a really good point, and I think we should have it online.
Yeah, because I think in the strategic plan, they are going to do some community outreach. But I think if you post the board meeting online, that's a way of promoting outreach. Yeah, that's just my personal view, personal point.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you for those comments.
Thank you.
I definitely want to see, Kevin, I don't know where you went. I don't see you.
I'm still here.
There you are.
Yeah, I
I had to
see.
scroll down a bit. But yeah, if we could do that, Kevin, and then also maybe put this on the agenda for next month, just so we can maybe figure out a response to a lot of the issues that arose in the planning commission, but also so we can give a comprehensive feedback to the city council when it comes before them again. But also it's not just the city of Cupertino that should be involved in this. San Jose also, our district also includes San Jose. We go into the city of San Jose. So I don't know why the city of San Jose is not being, just why this is not involving them either, or the county board of supervisors, since they're the ones that have the power to appoint, like myself, appoint vacancies for this district. So I think that there's several entities that could and should weigh in as well. So if you can bring it back, that'd be great. Our next meeting is my last as a board member, and Hilly's last as a board member. So it would be nice to get some input from her and myself moving forward. Any objections from the other board members?
No, I appreciate that we put together a response.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much. And now we're moving on to item number 10, consider board policy regarding director-sponsored community events. Kevin?
So this was a board policy that Director Sala was interested in putting forth. This would be in regards to pool facility use, of course, only for free community events once a year.
Yes.
All right.
Do I talk?
Yeah, Miriam?
Yeah, I brought this in regards to that I hosted this seed day. It's for the community. I don't get anything out of it. It's to keep us safe going forward. And so there was difficulty in trying to figure out how to maintain this over going forward, to have a day, continue have a day. And so the other ways seem more, or this was more expedient to kind of continue, I guess, benefits that board members have had in the past, but to basically what I wanted to do is not limit community event, or not have board members who want to host community events be held up by any kind of fees. So this would say, I know Steve sometimes hosts the art events and things. So yeah, just in it, so that it's seemed to be too difficult to come up with a way that the board could itself host something like this, so that at least board members who wanted to have events for a community could do this, not be hindered by any kind of fees, so that I could continue to host a seed day and make that available to the community. And I think all things around seed should be free, or at least as well as people can pay. So this was my best stab at being able to support community events that maybe board members wanted to see happen.
Okay,
Question?
thank you, Director. Steve?
I love the idea of putting it in writing. However, because it is what has happened, I've hosted 2 charity events and 1 memorial event in the 28 years I've been on the board. It's really nice to do this. However, the first question I got once I saw it written down, because it's never been written down before, is this ethically a good idea? I think so, but I was wondering about maybe asking our lawyer people if this poses any kind of ethical conflict at all. I don't think so, because there's no cost. In the past, there's been essentially no cost to the district other than the electricity to turn on the lights, because the board member always did the staffing, stuff like that. So, and the lights may have been on anywhere. So it's a zero cost to the district, but my only concern is there any ethical implication here that we're missing? Other than that.
So before we get into further discussion, because we are supposed to do questions first, let's get some public comments before we do that. Jenny?
Thank you, Jordan. This is an interesting thing. They do have a lot of, boards, etc., do a lot of things. They do fundraisers, they do charity work. I certainly, Miriam's seed idea certainly comes under, I would call it like I think that's like a charity. It's like a public service. It's reaching out with something that everyone can use for the good of everyone. Also, certainly in Steve's case, if he held a memorial service, I'm assuming this for someone that had passed, that is, that's for the public good also. It's not a fundraiser. It's something, it's a place to gather to, express the community's feelings about someone, especially if it was someone that was well known. I think that having fundraisers, obviously there are issues maybe with fundraising, etc., but if you have a essentially non-for-profit, or you have what would you call it, like a charity event, I think maybe they could call them charity events. I don't know if a memorial service comes under that, but I think it's within the purview of what you all are doing very, very much. And I think that it is, when you have things like this, you're reaching out to the public and you're saying, hey, come and be a part of our community here. You know, if you knew this person, come and share your feelings about them. Come and see what Miriam is talking about with the seeds. She can talk about master gardeners, and you learn a lot. So I think it's within the purview of what the board could do. And obviously, you all can talk to the attorney to find out the ramifications. But I think it's well within the purview, and I consider it for the public good. Thank you.
Kevin?
I did want to point out also that this is a first reading, so there is time to do that review. There's time to look at the language and to make sure that this is checking all the boxes.
So yeah, I would like to talk, share my thoughts. Now, I like the idea for community use of the pool facility to host or sponsor community-centered events. And for those events to be free or a small donation to cover the cost of the event, like food and whatever. Is there a reason, Kevin, why we should just limit it to board members or open it up to residents of Rancho Rinconada that want to host these types of community-led events? Because I kind of feel a little bit uncomfortable. You know, as I think everyone is pretty clear about my intentions, I really struggled with being convinced to come back on this board. Not because I have an issue with Rancho, but because I moved on. But I'm not doing it necessarily for benefits. So what would it take for, instead of saying board members past and present, to open it up to the community to have these community related events?
Thank you, Chair. I think that it could be opened up, but we would have to really make the rules very clear. My one concern as staff would be that staff may not be in a good position necessarily to evaluate nonprofits for, looking at their cause. I don't think that we're really well equipped for that. But we have done community events in the past, right? So for example, there was a time when there was a lot of burglaries and car break-ins several years ago, you may recall. And we hosted a number of neighborhood watch meetings for Rancho Rinconada, and that was a community event as well. So, I mean, it sounds like maybe it might be possible to open up, but the rules would need to be made clear. Maybe even have all of them at the same time, like it's a seed sharing day, but maybe it's everyone's little special,
And we have a supposedly nonprofit entity that was actually making money off events, or is that?
That was before my time, but I think I remember hearing about that one. Yeah, we also had a senior group come and do lunches at Rancho. That was also another one that we did in the past.
Well, and but I don't. We have Rancho as a voting center as well.
Correct. Yes, we do have Rancho as a voting center. So there is room for it. Maybe the board could just decide on those. I'm not sure.
Miriam?
Okay, partly this resolution, or whatever it's called, came about was because initially that was sort of the idea, but it involved a lot more. Yeah, it was going to be a lot more, as far as definition. And also it was something I wanted to have in place before I left. And so I'm wondering if these two ideas are not mutually exclusive, that perhaps we could give board members this opportunity, but also you know, in line in the future, we can talk about how to shape for other community groups. And for instance, I'm not a nonprofit too, which is often the criteria. So yeah, is it possible we could pass this so that individuals on the board can do this as we figure out what it is that we want to offer to the community?
I mean, I definitely agree with your what you're doing. I completely agree with it. You know, and you know, obviously we could decide, oh, nonprofit, what's a nonprofit, or what is considered a community event, which I would definitely think it's a community event. You know, I do feel a little bit uncomfortable giving us benefits that are not, you know, that are not open to, you know, at
Well, the
least
only reason the only reason I think that's okay was I wasn't asking for something for myself. I was asking for something that I could do for the community. So I understand, you know, and that's exactly what I wanted initially, but the criteria was pretty sticky. So to circumvent the stickiness, I just stuck it for us. And that's what I'm saying. Is it something we can go ahead and offer board members as we figure out what our criteria is for the community? Let's let Steve say.
Yeah, Steve.
Additionally, it's been allowed for board members or employees. And the reason for limiting that was that a person has to sign up and reserve the facility to use it in the first place. So there has to be a name on the form of who's responsible for images, anything like that. So, and the reason it was limited to board members or an employee is that the board member or the employee could, with no cost to the district, open and close the facility at the beginning and end of the event without charging any hours to the district. And so that's why we limited it that way. The other reason for limiting it to that was to keep from being overwhelmed. But I like the fact that the way she's trying to word this in terms of a community event, which, like I said, another board member came back 20 years after they retired, and their daughter or son said, "Can we have a service here for a former board member?" And we said, "Sure." You know, it just needs somebody to sponsor it on the form and be willing to accept responsibility if there's any losses. And limited, traditionally, it's been limited to either a board member of any present or past, or an employee willing to, you know, pay the cost, and it's only usually the facility itself, because if you had to use like the pool, you'd have to hire lifeguards and things like that. So that's why we limit it. I think that's why they traditionally limited it to just employees or board members, is it then there wasn't any costly paperwork for staffing it.
Kevin, did we talk to council about this?
The item came in a little bit late, so we weren't able to look at it in sufficient detail.
The reason why I'm a little bit hesitant that it's just board members, past and present, is we were placed in this position by the community for the community. And I really do. I love what Miriam is doing here, because I think it's really important to have our community hall for community events. And if we can find a way to make it work so it's not just board members, but it also allows seed day and other really community events. You know, I don't think we should put, oh, you know, someone has to be an official nonprofit, but maybe the event should be not for profit. You know, this is not necessarily on the on discussion, but there are potential conflicts of interest currently in the district using facilities for profit. And so I love the idea that Miriam is putting forth, and I think that she should have every right and ability to do so for free. But if we can expand it to community events, not just nonprofit events, beyond just board members, I think that would be great.
Okay.
Because I really I love the idea, but also you know something like Miriam's Seed Day can be a Rancho sponsored event or co-sponsored event too. You know, that we're donating the space for that type of thing. So I see your hand up, Kevin, but do you want to? Can't hear you.
You're muted.
Thank you. Actually,
What you said, I'm
wanna...
sure, was a fantastic, but we didn't hear it.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure, I wanted to clarify if that was a directive, to see how we can expand it to more than just a board, maybe come back. Is that the desire, or what's the direction?
I do want to see how we can come up with something that encompasses exactly what Miriam is looking for, but that it's not just necessarily a privilege of board members, past and present. Whether that's current or former residents of Rancho, or having community-sponsored events in general, not necessarily just for nonprofits, could also be a very good outreach tool on this community center is yours as well. And it's not just a board perk, but that it's expanded to incorporate more, beyond just board members. Steve?
That in the past, I just remembered what's missing from this is we covered that in the past by a third step. You have to come before the board for approval before the event, and we can reword this so that it's not just board members, but if somebody wants to do it who's not a board member, they just present to the board what they want to do, and the board can say, sure, you can have it, and I'll close the doors, or you, Jordan, can open and close the doors, or Gilly can open and close, whoever has a key, and the idea of keeping costs down.
Yeah, no, that makes makes a lot of point, or good points.
The board
Can't hear you, Steve.
I presented it to the board first, and there was no objection. The funeral memorial service and for the two fundraising auctions for education.
My only concern about that is board members trying to decide what is considered appropriate or not. For example, this is an example. I'm gay and I cannot give blood. And so it's going to be my inclination that we should not host a blood drive until the law is changed, right? So I'm not saying I would, but let's say I have a fundamental issue on something that could be a community benefit, but because of my protest about the fact that I am not legally allowed to give blood, and rejecting a blood drive based on discrimination from in law, it could cause a kind of a problem. So is there a way that we can do what we're trying to do without necessarily being approved by the board, no matter, just depending on what the board is thinking in every given meeting?
I see your point, but again, you're one of 5 votes in a fully staffed board, and you could vote against it, and the other board members, 3 could vote for it, and go fine, it happens. The biggest thing that we haven't addressed is we just want to make sure we don't have 5,000 free events a year.
Yeah. Well, that was became the difficulty is then, 5,000, maybe 5,000 people decide they want to host things. And what essentially, now we have criteria and who can or who can't. In the end, that was why I just had that board perk, because it was sort of like a simple thing. But anyways, yes. Can't hear you.
The board approve it would mean that we wouldn't approve more than maybe 100 a year, something like that, something reasonable. We'd say, okay, we're getting too many, we've got to cut back. This one's too big of a blank check, I think is what I'm saying. And for a different reason, I think Jordan thinks it's too much of a blank check, just board members. So that's why I think board members are employees. Scott, you need somebody to host or sponsor the event. And by going through the board and saying, hey, can we do that if there's no conflict with something else? Fine.
I personally would be amazed if we can get a community event every 3 days. But there are considerations, because we do have groups who rent the community hall as well. Kevin, I don't know if you know how the Quinlan Community Center handles things like this. Do you know?
I'm sorry, I don't. I can reach out, because I think I have some folks in the city I could ask how they do it.
You can speak to I know the libraries have their community rooms, and their rules have sort of changed as time gone by, but basically you can sign up now. There is a fee. And the fee has gone up. I think it started at $10 and it went to $25. And the condition was that it had to be open to the public. So anybody could sign up for the room, pay these fees, as long as it was, like if you wanted to give a talk or have arts and crafts or whatever it was, as long as it was open to anybody who wanted to walk through the door.
So I'm gonna ask Jenny to just do a couple minute thing so we can wrap it up. But also, if Kevin, if we do drastically try to figure this out and drastically change it, I don't know if it's our own board policies regarding the 2 readings, and technically this is a topic that is here, so we might be able to kind of think through all of these things so we can pass it next month. But if
I can check with legal on that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jenny?
maybe.
Real quick, here, Miriam.
Because I agree with you, Jordan, about making. That's what I think's great about our special district is. The fact that we actually have a local control is totally mind blowing.
Yeah.
And so I would like that to be available. So if we can figure something out, that would be great. And like I said, so more what it was like I was batting ideas around with Kevin, and then I thought, well, maybe the simplest thing is just let us do it. And then, but yeah, no, I'm open to that, and I would like to see if there's something else we can, and like maybe legal is more familiar with how things could be done like this. So
yeah, and I think we also have to keep in mind that we really need Kevin and maybe you, Miriam, to work on it, kind of with the ideas that we've all come up with, because I think we're all pretty much in agreement on a direction.
Yeah.
Not necessarily know how to word it yet, but we definitely don't want to violate the Brown Act while we're doing it. So
Yeah. Okay.
hopefully he's recorded the meeting, so at least he can look back at it, but taking notes and maybe we can figure out the best way of incorporating all of it. Because I
All
think
right. Thank
I
you.
agree with all of you about it. But before we adjourn, I want Jenny to be able to weigh in.
Jordan, the only thing I was going to say was, and I know it may be out of turn, but I was just going to say that Quinlan is up for rent because when we were going to get married 20 years ago, I actually went over there and asked if we could have the reception there. And they said, unfortunately, it was booked up solid, but it's a lovely facility, but you can have events like that there. We were actually thinking of having the wedding and the ceremony there, a reception, but it was booked solid. So you can rent it. So
Right. Well, and folks can rent Rancho's hall, but I don't know if you know this, Jenny, but does Quinlan, is it free for like community events, or does it have to be sponsored by the city, or do you know that?
I think, they have the Ikebana. I mean, they have a flower. Maybe it's part of the festival that they have with the tree. That sounds off. They have a lot of community events there, but they may need to be associated with like a city sponsored event or you have a group and you're having like an exhibition, because I think they have a lot of painting exhibitions and stuff there, but I don't know about the public doing that. I really don't know, because I was only inquiring about I know that if you're going to like be renting it for a wedding, you have to put a deposit down, but if you are a resident of Cupertino, you do have like, I don't think you have to put as much money down. But I'm not sure about like a private person having like an event. I think you could approach them if you were maybe a special interest group or you had a club and you wanted to use it for an event or something like that. I just don't, I am not familiar with that.
That made me think of something, Jenny. I'm sure the city has some kind of policy regarding Quinlan Center.
Oh, they do.
Maybe maybe we can kind of see how they handle it. And I know the water district, when I worked for them, they had they had a process on what would be sponsored event, or use of district funds for community events. So maybe we can kind of look at examples of how other community owned facilities like the Quinlan Center handles some of these questions. But that's on you, Kevin. So thank you. If no further discussion, I will entertain. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, Miriam made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Steve seconded. If I vote no, well, I'll have to stay here. I want to, before calling for the vote, I want to thank Minna and Jenny and everyone, Misha, participating with us today. It was very helpful and good insight, and I really appreciate it. And I'm sure not to speak on behalf of the board, but speaking on behalf of the board, I think the board agrees that we yearn for your input. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kevin, roll call.
All right, Director Eldridge.
Aye.
Director Salo.
Aye.
Director Wasowski.
Can stay for another hour?
Well,
might-
we'll have to get better at reading lips, though, Steve.
we might lose quorum. So
Sorry.
Miriam and I have one more meeting left.
Yeah. I miss you.
So,
I'll miss you too.
so did you vote yet, Steve? All right. So I believe that was unanimous. So thank you very much. We're adjourned at 8:32 p.m.
All right.
Nighty
Awesome.
night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. How do we get out of here? Oh, everybody's still there.